Hello, everyone, and welcome to another local transfer show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. Today is the 1st of December, so you know what that means. 1 month away from the January window opening, so therefore, expect to see numerous rumors flying around, especially when it comes to Liverpool Football Club. So today we'll discuss some of the rumors that have been circulating today and in the last few days, and we'll give our take in terms of is there any weight on those rumors or is it just paper talk? So we can go through that together. So let's go with the first rumor. So it involves two Real Madrid players in Tchouameni and Camavinga. And the rumor is that Liverpool have a dream of signing midfielder Tchouameni, which sounds silly, but this is what the article said. Um, but see a move for teammate Eduardo Camavinga as a realistic alternative. Now, my thoughts on both players. Tchouameni, I still feel like he's a fantastic player. He's a player that we almost signed a few years ago before he made that move from Monaco to Real Madrid. And it's one that unfortunately got away. In terms of his profile, he would be perfect in this Liverpool team, playing alongside Gravenberch. I think they would form a formidable partnership. But under new manager Xabi Alonso, he has been getting more game time, and it's pretty much an important part of his setup. Having said that, Alonso's future, is not for certain, but that's probably another discussion for another time. So, Tchouaméni, I guess if we were to pinpoint on what DM would be regarded as a dream signing for a Liverpool fan, I think Tchouaméni would probably top the bill, and I don't think Real Madrid would want to part ways with him. Of course, there were some talks towards the latter stage of last season where they thought maybe he'd be surplus, but due to him adapting to playing as a centre back on an emergency cover, you know, they realized he's a valuable member of their squad. So I don't think they would want to sell him anytime soon. Now, in terms of Camavinga, he's a player that I really, really rate. He's a fantastic midfielder. For me, he's the complete midfielder. He can do pretty much everything. Defensively sound, very strong on the ball, likes to tackle, progressive player in terms of passing, can dribble, he's a ball carrier. He can take a shot as well. But I feel like what brings him, you know, to the table, what brings him to be one of, in my opinion, one of the top midfielders in Europe is that his energy, the way he plays and his reading of the game. Whenever we've played Real Madrid, he's always stood out um, as one of the star performers in their team. So I would love to see Camavinga in Liverpool shirt. That for me would be a dream signing. But I think in terms of the profile, I think Tchouaméni would fit the bill a little bit better. But what Camavinga would bring to Liverpool that we don't really have in our midfield is that he's left-footed, so he gives us a different dimension, gives us probably a better balance. In a double pivot, if that's the setup that we're going to go with. Apparently, he's available for £52 million, which for me doesn't sound crazy, doesn't sound too high. But having said that, one concern regarding Camavinga is his injury record. He has become quite injury prone in the last few years, and that would be a concern. Being such a high profile player into the club, and if he's not able to stay fit or he doesn't adapt to the intensity and the physicality of the league, it would be a slight gamble, in my opinion. So in terms of the two players, they would walk into most teams, to be honest with you. But do I see them being realistic options for Liverpool? No, I don't think they would be realistic. Forget January. I don't think they'll be realistic for us next summer. Camavinga might be on the move if he does get fit and he doesn't get much game time. But I just don't see it at this stage. So I would love for either of them to join Liverpool. I just don't think it's realistic, to be honest with you. I'm just going to go through some of the comments before we speak about the next rumor. Abdul, big up Abdul, is a big up Aussie. Come back and chat. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam to you, Abdul. Hope you're doing well. He says West Ham nil, Liverpool 2. We need to start winning games and go on a run. Smash the like and subscribe button. We need centre back DM and a couple of wingers. A couple of wingers will be a bit too greedy on our part, but I agree. We do need a centre back. I would say we need two centre backs, a DM and a winger. I think that would fit the profile more. Abdul says we need to start using Joe Gomez more in our starting lineup. I understand he's injury prone and Slot is stubborn with plays and style. We have conceded 20 goals in the Premier League and 8 in the Champions League. I agree. I think Joe Gomez showed his worth over the weekend, and hopefully, he gets some consecutive game time. But having said that, we do need to manage him a bit carefully. He does have an injury record, so we can't just play him carelessly. Every game, we have to manage him a bit better. So whether he starts against Sunderland or not remains to be seen. But I do agree, it would be good to see Joe Gomez in our starting lineup more so than not. Losses against Crystal Palace 3 times, Galatasaray, Chelsea, United, City, Brentford, PSV, and Forest is unacceptable. All season, bad performance, win or lose, we need to start winning. Bo, big up Bo. He says, when did Liverpool become Chelsea? We don't need to sell. We don't need all these players. Slot needs to work with what he has. That is what a great manager do. No signings in January, hopefully, apart from maybe Gehi. Um, I hear what you're saying in terms of, a lot of us will probably say, we probably did too much too soon, in terms of making wholesale changes in our squad. But I feel like the club will have a list of targets in mind, whether it's for January or for the summer. And if they become available, they will pursue them. The likes of Diaz and Gakpo in particular, those were summer targets. But because there was a lot of interest in these players and they were targeted, quite seriously, I think Luis Diaz was very close to joining Tottenham and Gakpo was in discussions with Manchester United. So when your target becomes available, you have to kind of, you know, go all in and try and get the player over the line. I do agree in terms of, Slot needs to work on the team and the current crop of players. But having said that, I still feel like we need reinforcements in January. A centre back is a must. That's not even a debate. That is number one priority. A DM would be great, but I don't see us signing a DM only because of the profile of players that we would like to sign. Having said that, if there is players available, it could be an option, to be honest with you. And the winger, uh, for me, it would probably be Semenyo. If it's any other winger, I don't think we would pursue um, someone in the January window because I feel like with Semenyo, he's so versatile and I feel like he'll fit our style of play really well. And he might have been earmarked as a summer signing, but because he's got these clauses in his contract where if he was to be sold in January, his fee is 65 million. And if he isn't sold, then his transfer fee goes down to 50 million next summer, which of course makes the better sense. You wait 6 months, right? But the thing is, due to his great form this season, there's a lot of interest. And we'll speak about Semenyo in a bit more detail during the show. Abdul said, I'm surprised that Kier is not playing for Liverpool. That is true. I am very surprised. Well, there seems to be an issue with him and the coach. That's how I'm looking at it. So um, we'll speak about Kier. He's a player that's also been linked with moving away from the club. Also, big up Ozzy, big up Bo. I hope you're doing well. Abdul says, do Liverpool need a CDM and a winger? There isn't competition for Salah and Gakpo. He doesn't trust Rio and Chiesa. Ekitiga is the number 9 versus the number 10. So like grab a Matt Cummins Fields, don't trust Endo. Yeah, I think we do. But the thing is with these players, you have to find the right profile. So I think Semenyo is the perfect fit in terms of what we need in a team. Someone that is aggressive on the flanks, a bonus because there's not many players like that, but he's both footed. And when I say both footed, not that he can just kick with his weaker foot. He's equally good on either foot. So because of that, that's a unique skill set there. You know, when he plays on the right wing, he's just as effective as he plays on the left wing. So for me, he would provide great cover. And quite frankly, I think he'd even start in this current team. That's how much I rate him. That's how much I feel like he would have an impact in our team. So, people want to spend money or think, why sign another attacker? We signed so many attacking players in the summer. But the thing is, he's a profile that I still believe we need because we never replaced Luis Diaz, and there's a gap in our squad that needs to be filled. And also, he could be regarded as a long-term successor to Mohamed Salah. He's comfortably able to play on that right wing. So for me, a winger, is a priority. Yeah, of course, it won't be where we definitely need a winger and we can just go and sign anyone. I think he's regarded as the one that we want. So if he's available, we have to try and go in and try and get him over the line. In terms of CDM, I think there'll be a number of players that we would be looking at, but I don't think our prime targets will be available in January. Boss, I didn't think you were streaming today. Ozzy, happy surprise. I wasn't planning on doing so, but I thought there's a lot of rumors I've been seeing circling this morning. So I thought, you know what, might as well just do a show. So yeah, appreciate you coming on and tuning in. Mr. Barry Smith Murphy said, I would like to sell Endo and Meckham, bringing Elliot Anderson and Walter. What do you think? That'd be a dream scenario there. Elliot Anderson is a fantastic player. He really is. Um, we've been linked to him for the last few months, and he's really impressed me. And I feel like he can play in that double pivot role, but he can also play in a more advanced role if needed. So his all-round skill set, I think, have been showcased more this season. He's very strong on in the tackle. Like, he likes to get stuck in. Great ball carrier, but technically underrated. I think he's really, really good on the ball. I don't know how much it would cost. I think it'd probably be costing us an arm and a leg to prize him away from Nottingham Forest, especially with Marianakis as the owner. But he's definitely the profile I think we should be looking at. In terms of Wharton, he's a special talent for me. Um, in terms of his profile, tall, physical, but elegant on the ball. He's a maestro. That would be the best word to describe him. Where he can dictate play, but he's an all rounder as well. So for me, he would be a fantastic signing for us. And there has been rumors, suggesting that he's definitely top of our shortlist, which shouldn't surprise any of us. Um, if we were to sell Endo and McAllister for Elliot Anderson and Wharton, I'm all in. For me, that's an upgrade in our current setup. So yeah, if that is the scenario, sign me up because that would be fantastic for Liverpool going forward. Abdul said, "What do you think of Frimpong, Kirkes, Verts, Ekitike, and Isak? What about these signings in summer 2025?" Look, I'll be honest with you. I might be a minority, but I wasn't annoyed or disappointed with any of these signings. Frimpong, I like the player. I think he's very talented. Of course, in his sort of recent career, he's played more as a wing back, and for the national team, he's actually played as a right winger. So surprised that he was brought in as a right back. But if you play a system that facilitates his skill set, it can work. He's just been very unfortunate this season where he's picked up quite a few injuries and therefore he's not had much game time. So I don't think we have a right to question his ability in a Liverpool shirt so far because he's not played that many games. Kirkes, I'm a little bit on the fence with this one. I was very impressed with how he performed for Bournemouth last season because always was always under the notion that when I say he, I mean Arne Slot, was going to target a more defensive-minded left back to allow the right back to be the more attacking player, and then you end up having a back three with the left back inverting um, in the back line. But he went for Kerkez, and for me, if you're going to sign two attack-minded fullbacks, you have to sign a DM, a proper established DM, like a Tchouameni that you see on the screen. That's how you get the best out of both of those players because then you have a bit of security for the back four, but also the fullbacks whenever they bomb forward. So Kerkez, I think will show his worth in due course. But having said that, I still have a little bit of reservations if he is going to be the Robbo replacement. When I say the Robbo replacement, I mean as first choice left back. I don't know if he has the skill sets to be the player that plays in, week out. Personally, I would probably sign another left back in the summer. That would be regarded on paper as an upgrade and have two players fighting for that spot. But he would be more than an adequate cover for that role. Which sounds crazy because obviously you said we spent 45 million. I think we spent it was about 40, but it doesn't matter. But of course, we spent a big chunk of money to get him over here. but I feel like there's a few things that I feel like he may lack from a technical point of view, but at the same time, I don't think Arsenal has played into his capabilities. He's played more as an inverted fullback, which I've seen interviews in the past where he said that he likes to play that role. But I think when you're playing at the highest level, I don't think he has the capabilities of playing that kind of way. So if he was deployed more as an overlapping fullback, and then we have better protection from the midfield for the back forward, then I think it could work. So no, I don't regard it as a flop. I was quite surprised with him being the profile, to be honest, but I still feel like there's a good player there. Verts, you guys already know my thoughts on Verts. He's going to cook. The performance against West Ham was just a starter. He'll show you what he's about in games to come. Ekitike, for me, very impressed with his impact so far. Probably surprised a lot of people. I was a little surprised, not hugely surprised, because I've seen him play for Frankfurt, and he's always looked impressive whenever I watched him. But what I've been impressed with is the way he's just adapted straight away, and his finishing, especially in the early parts of the season, he's very, very clinical. So for me, still a good signing. Uh, and Alexander Isak, the player that I wanted all summer. So there's no arguments from me. I'm pleased that we've got him, and the goal that he scored against West Ham should be a start of many, in my opinion. So I'm not disappointed with the summer signings. I know a lot of fans were like, no, they're terrible, or we misprofiled them. Only time will tell if we've misprofiled them, because I feel like we're still missing one or two ingredients to have the full meal, basically. So until we don't address that, I don't think you'll get the best out of all of these players. But that's just my take there. Uh, Bo says Stott has what he has. He needs to work with just that. Abdul Ansel is still under pressure. Of course he is. Absolutely. Just because he won one game doesn't mean he's um off the hook. In my opinion, bosses can't wrap my head around it. India Kalia very reliable or not? Is he? In recent times, yes, he's been tweeting stuff that has been validated. To be fair, especially in the summer, he pretty much got all the Liverpool transfers correct. So I don't know. Maybe he's got some inside sources that have just come about for him, and he's getting it right. So whenever you see this kind of speculation or rumors online from certain outlets, just take it with a pinch of salt. But yeah, I would never see it as gospel when it comes to certain individuals presenting rumors online. Barca lost versus Salah, he needs to go. Yeah, it would depend in terms of the manner, but I think I don't think it'll be one defeat. I personally think if he loses like 2 games in the coming weeks, then I think that would be the time to go. That's how I think FSG are looking at it. To be fair, obviously we got exposed once behind our defense on goal. We are shaky in defense. Injury Leone 30 million. Frimpong, Badly, and Bajtic. Well, Leone, we can't really you know blame for what happened. Unfortunately, he got injured, but he looked very promising. And for me, he's a very talented player. So no, I don't think that he was a bad signing. Bajcetic for me is not a new signing. He's been at the club for a few years. Although, of course, he's not played many games, whether that's due to team selection or availability. But no, I'm not going to count him. Um, Whereas Ramsey and Reece Williams, Reece Williams probably will be playing reserves. Ramsey, not too sure, to be fair. He hasn't been part of the squad in the last couple of games, so who knows? Bo says Williams not good enough. Stock don't like Ramsey, possibly. Um, our next fixtures are Sunderland, Leeds, Inter, Brighton, Spurs, Wolves, and Leeds, all winnable, but you have to really step up. Whereas Jaden Dan's is currently injured at the minute. That's confirmed by Bo. Mr. Barry Murphy says, I reckon both would cost £160 million. I think it cost a bit more, to be honest with you. But you're not far off. I think Wharton would cost about 80, 80 million, and I think yeah, I think that'd probably be alright, about right, to be fair. Um, let's hope FSG still have that blank checkbook that they presented last summer. But Mr. Barry Smith says, why am I calling you Smith? Mr. Barry Murphy, sorry. Agree with your dream upgrade. Yeah, that would be the dream upgrade. And funny enough, I think even if you played both of them together, it'd be a great combination on the pitch. So no, I think they would make us really strong. Fans will still have a slight reservations in terms of being two English players and we're spending big on them. But I think if you've watched them play, you know what they bring to the table. They are very, very talented players. Bo said all signings were good. I agree, Bo. A five loss then get sacked. Look, if we get battered against Sunderland, then yeah, he has to go. But if it's like a narrow loss, but we played really well, I think FSG will look at that and think we'll give him another. Well, one more game. If he loses, then he's out. I think that's the way I think they're going to see. And I saw a report saying the same thing as well. Um, so I think they're trying to give him the benefit of the doubt that he can turn it around. But it's going to be interesting because just because we won in convincing manner against West Ham doesn't mean that's going to be the way forward in terms of our next coming fixtures. And also, Slot might revert back to old tactics or his tactics, which I don't think work at this minute. So, very intrigued to see how he sets up on Wednesday, which we'll talk about in more detail tomorrow with the match preview. Right, let's move on to the next rumor. This was circulating a few days ago, and apparently Liverpool want to sign PSG midfielder Vitinha, but it all depends on the future of Mohamed Salah and his possible move to Saudi. The reasons the two are linked is money. Liverpool need to finance the move for Vitinha from the big sale of Salah. So my thoughts on that, I think that sounds like complete nonsense to me. Um, for a couple of reasons. Firstly, with regards to Mohamed Salah, if he does decide to leave for Saudi next summer, I don't think it will be like a crazy amount of money because he'll only have 1 year remaining of his contract. And I don't think Liverpool will be in a position to demand like 100 million pounds. I don't think that's going to be possible, in my opinion. And Vitinha is pretty much indispensable for PSG, and they would never consider selling him, especially at this current stage where he just scored a hat trick the other day. He's doing phenomenal for them. So for me, this is just for clicks more than anything else. There is no truth to these rumors at all. Now, next player who I mentioned earlier in the show is Semenyo. As you all know, we have been linked to him for a number of weeks, and there's always also been speculation that we've actually held talks with him and his representatives. The rumor coming out today is that Man City are also considering to trigger his release clause, which is £65 million in January. So my thoughts on that, if there is any truth to that, we've got to make sure we win him over with our project, with the PowerPoint presentation that Stockton reverts, whatever it takes. Make sure we sell it to him and get him on board because I feel like he's a player that we really need in this team, and I feel like his impact in Bournemouth has gone a bit under the radar. He's one of the top goal scorers in the Premier League this season, and whenever we've played against him, he's looked like a force. He's very direct, very rapid on the ball. But what impresses me about him is his shooting. He's really good with both feet, and I feel like playing with better players, respective, to Bournemouth. I think he can really flourish, and I think he can hit another level, being a local player. So that is the profile that I would really like us to go for. Um, Whether he comes or not remains to be seen. There are other clubs linked with him, the likes of Manchester United, Tottenham, Arsenal, all the big guns are linked with Semenyo. So therefore, if he is a target, you have to go for him in January. It might not be popular for us as Liverpool to go for another attacker, but like I said earlier on, we haven't replaced Luis Diaz, and I do feel like we need competition for that left wing. Rio Ngamo is here, yes, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's ready for the first team as of yet. And also with Semenyo, he's not just a left winger, he's not pegged into one position. He can play on the right wing just as good as well. So for me, I think we got to do everything to try and get him in January. My gut feeling is telling me that we will sign him. I have some confidence that we will get him over the line. Um, and I'm also hoping that we get a centre back. So let's see, what happens in the January window. Um, On to your next rumor. So this started circulating about an hour or two ago from Indy Khalil, the name mentioned earlier on in the chat. So the rumor is that Liverpool are eyeing a January move for Atalanta midfielder in the name of Edison. And Edison is available for around 30 to 40 million euros, which in pounds equals to around 26 to 35 million. I believe his contract is expiring. So let me just double check when it expires. Because if it's June, um, then it's going to be interesting. So his contract expires in 2027, and they don't expect to renew it for maybe he's fallen out with them. I'm not too sure. So that's why he might be available for a lower price, which is of course around 26 to 35 million. So my thoughts on the player. We faced him a couple of years ago when we were in our Europa League campaign, and he looked very, very impressive, to be honest. I've not watched him this season. If I'm honest with you guys, last season I watched him a couple of times in the Champions League. I remember watching him against Real Madrid, and he was very, very impressive. So I've not been keeping an eye on him this season. But from what I've seen over the years, I feel like he's a very talented player. I think he's the type of player that would fit our style of play because he's not one specific profile. He is more of an all-round midfield player. I think he can comfortably play in a double pivot, where he will bring energy, tenacity, decent on the ball, but he can also play as a box-to-box midfielder as well. So he would be, for me, a fantastic squad player to have. I don't think he would be a starter personally, but having said that, if he was to join in January, I could see him literally challenging McAllister and giving him a run for his money for a starting place in this Liverpool team. Because not similar profiles, but similar-ish. Although I feel like on their sort of their heyday, I think McAllister is much better on the ball. But Edison, he brings that energy, and I feel like he will definitely give us great cover um, in the long term. And when I say in the long term, the reason I say that is because if he was to be signed in January, that's not the finished article there. I feel like we will still need to sign a top midfielder next summer. So let's say it is a Wharton, that would be someone that would come in and then I guess on paper he would be replacing one of the midfielders. Jones might have a role as a backup for Verts going forward because he's better from an attacking point of view. Endo's future is up in the air. We don't expect him to be here for a long time, so he could come in to replace him in the squad. I guess if you're looking at like for like replacement, so I wouldn't be mad at this signing. To be fair, it would be a short term fix, I guess, in terms of what we need. In terms of play age, I think he's 26, 27. So he's at that age where he's um, hopefully hitting towards his prime. And I feel like he's a player that can have an impact in this team. So if there is any truth to this rumor, I wouldn't be disappointed. I think he's a good player. I just don't know how he's performed so far this season. Has he digressed? I'm not entirely sure. So that's something I'll have to look into. But generally speaking, he is a talented player. So I wouldn't be annoyed or disappointed if he was to join in the January window. But when it comes to, I think one thing that saves him is under the light and Anfield. Sunderland plays the same way as PSV, by the way. Oh, really? Well, if it's anything like that scoreline, then yeah, he might be out the door. And Sunderland are not going to be easy opponents. They are literally, for me, one of the most informed teams in the Premier League this season. So we have to make sure that we are on top of our game and we play this towards the same level that we showed against West Ham, but maybe even more so. Got to show more energy, more application in everything we do. So it's going to be a tough battle for us at the stadium of no, it's at Anfield, isn't it? So at Anfield, yeah. Bo says I like Edison to be honest. Yeah, I think he's a very talented player. But Wayne, big up Wayne said big up Ozzy in chat. If Edison comes in, I think it's max replacement. I think he gets sold in the summer. That's why I just said I think in terms of the comparison, he's profile wise more like McAllister than anyone else in the squad. And he could be regarded as it's a great shot. He could be signed in January with the thinking that McAllister might leave in the summer. Strong possibility. But if that is the case, then I feel like we need to go big on someone in the summer, like a Wharton, who for me would be the starter, and then you have Edison and Jones as your two backups. I feel like we still probably need another one. To be fair, you can't rely on the likes of Bashtich or anyone like that. So yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that personally because I've lost a bit of hope on McAllister. If I'm being brutally honest, I just feel like he's digressed a little bit, and I don't know if he'll be able to rediscover the form that helped him, become a World Cup winner, I guess, or brought him from Brighton to Liverpool. But yeah, let's see, how it goes. Bo, this is his team. I'm assuming this is for the Sunderland game. So you've gone for Ali, Gomez, Virgil, Ibu. Robos was like Grav, Jones, Ekatike, Isak, and Vats. Okay, so you've gone with, I'm assuming, hold on. So you've gone for three, back four. So both like Grav, Jones, midfielders, and then you've got Ekatike, Isak, and Verts. So who's playing on the left? Is it Verts or are you playing a different formation? Because neither of those players can play right wing. So yeah, let me know in the chat in terms of the setup there. Wayne says we need to focus on our defense in the summer. I agree. It will kind of be the same thinking with regards to the midfield. So if we could get an Edison, for example, that would be sort of a short-term fix, in my opinion. A player that can challenge for McAllister, and then next summer, if McAllister decides to leave, that replacement's already made and they're already settled, and we just sign a Premier League proven midfielder like an Wharton, like a Elliot Anderson, or like a Belieber, because those three are the ones that I'm looking at as potential signings for Liverpool next summer. And in the January window, I would like us to sign a centre back and then go for a proper centre back. When I say proper, I mean like a high profile one in December as well. So let's hope that is the way it goes because I do feel like we need reinforcements in our defense, but also midfield. I think those are the two areas that we're going to reinvest in into the squad next summer, more so than not. But also Ekatike on the left, Verts free row, so both like more outright, like the West Ham game. Okay, let's see how we set up to on Wednesday. Sorry. Okay, this is a bit of a surprise rumor that was circulating, and that is Iliman Ndiaye. So player that has performed really well for the Toffees this season. You've got the likes of Liverpool, Spurs, Newcastle, Juventus, AC Milan, and Atletico Madrid, all admirers of the winger. So far this season, he's got 4 goals and assists, but obviously they don't sound like high stuff. But if you watch him play, he's been very impressive. Um, but having said that, the story is that Everton have no intention of listening to bids and would certainly not sell him to their city rivals in Liverpool. So my thoughts on that, I concur. That is not going to happen. I have very highly doubt that Everton will want to sell one of their best players to their arch rivals in Liverpool Football Club. So no, that's not going to happen. So this story has no legs whatsoever. So it's a bit of a silly one. But in terms of the player, I do think he's very talented. But I would prefer Semenyo. If I had to choose one from the Premier League, I would prefer Semenyo over Ndaye just because of flexibility until he can play left wing and right wing. So I feel like Semenyo would be the perfect fit for Liverpool. But this is a non-star. This is never going to happen at all. Bradley Barcola. So this player, who I'm sure you've heard me talk about him quite a few times in recent months, has been linked with a move once again. Now, funny enough, Liverpool made a strong approach for the PSG winger during the summer transfer window, and the winger seriously considered a switch to Liverpool. And apparently, hmm, in recent days, Liverpool made a verbal offer via a intermediary and to PSG for the winger, but apparently it was rejected straight away. So, firstly, is he the right profile for us to try and pursue in the next window or possibly in the summer? You guys know my thoughts. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's someone that definitely splits the fan base. I think he's very, very talented. However, just because I like a player doesn't mean they just naturally are the perfect fit for the team you support, which is of course Liverpool. Excuse me. At PSG and at Lyon, his previous club, predominantly played as a left winger. Can play on the right as well, but I don't think he's as effective. So for me, he would be a good signing, but I still prefer Semenyo. I feel like Semenyo's profile is quite a unique one because he can play on the left, can play on the right, just as good. He's Premier League proven. He's 25 years of age, so he's hitting out. He's hitting going towards his prime years, and he knows the league. So I feel like he's ready made to be a local player. And look, let's say Semenyo joins and he doesn't really hit the heights, or he doesn't, explode the way some fans would expect. He will still be a very, very good squad option for us. So I think Semenyo would be the better fit for us because he can cover two roles and give us that flexibility, but also give us that assurance that if a Salah or is not available, then we can bring in a Semenyo and he can comfortably play there, not with no issues whatsoever. Another big talking point would be the transfer fee. Semenyo is available for about £65 million. Barcola would cost a lot more. I don't think they would be open to do business at that price unless his stock, decreases, where he's not been as influential as he was last season. So that remains to be seen, as the season goes on. But a player that I really rate, but if I'm being honest, I would probably prefer to sign Semenyo. I think he's the better fit for us going forward. Another player that Liverpool have been linked with is the talented Dutch right back in Gaviro Reed. Now, you're probably thinking, bloody hell, another Dutchman. Why do we keep going Dutch here? Well, look, there is a feeling at Liverpool that the right back position needs strengthening, and this 19-year-old is the profile that the club appreciates and our favorite word likes to monitor. So, my thoughts on the player. I watched him last season in the Champions League. I remember watching the game against, so he plays for final. So the game against AC Milan, and he pretty much kept Rafael out of that game. Kept him quiet. Rafael could not get past him at all. Almost a masterclass performance, like in reference, like Bradley against Vinicius Junior. It was that kind of level, but he was 18 at the time. I feel like he's definitely one for the future. Very talented player. But when you've got a player of that kind of quality, and I feel like he's got a very high ceiling, you have to capitalize and try and get him before the other teams start sniffing around. So if he's a player that the club really appreciate and they really rate, it's something to look forward to going forward. Of course, we already have two right backs in Frimpong and Conor Bradley, but it could just be where we change Frimpong's role in the team, where we have him as a backup right winger and Conor Bradley and Gaviro Reed um, fight for that right back role. That way, you've got balance in the team. You've got three right backs on paper available. So if one or two are injured, and unfortunately, Bradley does have a a track record of being injured quite a bit. So if he's not available, then you've got Reed, and then you've got Frimpong available for that role, and Frimpong would therefore, I would say, be a great squad option because he can cover right wing or right back or right midfield depending on what formation you're playing. So for me, I, I would say in terms of right backs out there, there aren't many that like I feel like are top of my sort of like dream signing. Another player that I really like, but I don't think we'll get is Livramento. I think he's a fantastic fullback. He would be a great signing for Liverpool, but I don't think that's realistic. Um, so Reed, I've been impressed with him. I haven't seen him much this season, so maybe that's something I need to rekindle and try and watch some live games of Feyenoord this season. But he's a player I really rate, and a player that hopefully, is on the radar, and maybe we can sign him in the coming months. Because I expect it to be more of a summer signing than a January signing, if I'm being honest with you. Uh, Bo says Ndaye is a good player, but no, for me, I agree. Talented player, but yeah, a lot of factors that would not make it realistic anyway, but I agree. Bo said, why did it slot like Kwanzaa based on the first game? He didn't think he was dominant in the air because he lost quite a few key battles there. But it could be a bit more deeper, where maybe he didn't think he was mature enough to play at the first team level. Which there were definitely whispers saying that he's a bit immature for his age, and maybe he thought he was maybe too good than what he actually was. Um, but I feel like he's a talented player there, and I do believe that we'll probably re-sign him in a couple of years' time. He's doing fantastically well in the Bundesliga, so that'll give him great experience, and he will be allowed to develop at a faster rate. Because if he was still at Liverpool, I think he'd get game time this season. To be honest with you, based on Konate's poor form, but if the coach doesn't fancy you at the minute, then you have to kind of move on and think about your own career, which is what he has done. Um, so yeah, maybe he just didn't think he was good enough for Liverpool at this stage. But there's a reason why we've got a buyback clause, because there is a talent there, and if he's able to continue development at another league or for another team, there's an opportunity to bring him back in a couple of years' time. So hopefully, if he continues this great form that he's showing, we may see him in a Liverpool shirt once again. But also, it seems like when Stock makes his mind up on one player once, he never like trusts or plays them. Again, I hate that mentality. Yeah, it could be where it's ego, or it's you know a very direct approach where when he's made his mind up, he's final with his decision. So, but I don't completely agree with that, and the reason I say that is because last year, and I know this player hasn't played much this season, but Endo was a player that was literally left out in the cold. He wasn't even in the match day squad, but due to his hard work and application in training, he changed Slot's mind, and Slot had to use him in the first team squad. So in that regards, he definitely helped his cause. He definitely changed the tune from the manager, and manager ended up having faith in him and gave him the confidence to play him in multiple games. He might not have started a lot of games, but he was definitely regarded as a very important player for our campaign, which of course led to winning the Premier League. So that's just one example there. There aren't many to present in regards to Onslaught. Um, but it just depends on the individual. They have to work hard to prove him wrong. And if they do that, then you know they should be able to get some game time. But at this stage, the likes of Chiesa, they haven't found that winning formula to get back on track or to start games on the slot. Both once again don't like scouts in my opinion. I don't agree with that. I don't know or where that point of view would come from, because in terms of our squad, you've got Jones, who's there. You've got we had Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I think he wanted it to keep him, but of course he made his decision to move on, and of course join Real Madrid. In terms of our academy players, and the younger players in our reserves and under 23s and all that sort of stuff, they're not quite ready to get involved in the first team right now. So no, I don't think there's anything to do with him not liking Scousers. I feel like he's just looking at players on face value. If they're good enough, they will play or be part of the first team fold. If not, no, he wouldn't include him. I feel like he's just that kind of coach. Richie, big up Richie says, evening, Everton fan and Ndaye, very talented player. He is. Do you think Everton would ever consider selling him to Liverpool? Um, he's saying he's too good for the squad. I disagree. I don't think he's too good for the squad. I think he'd get games if he was a Liverpool player, but I don't see him displacing anyone. I would prefer Semenyo above him, to be fair, and I don't think it's realistic for Ndaye to move over to the red side so easily because it very rarely happens um, in this modern day. Okay, let's move on and speak about another rumor, which for me, yeah, all paper talk. So this will be short and sweet. So the rumor is that Liverpool are considering a move for a record 140 million for Portugal and PSG midfielder João Neves. The 21-year-old has been excellent form this season and is already one of the top goal scorers with 6 goals in 10 games. So my thoughts on that, complete nonsense. We are not bidding 140 million pounds for João Neves. So yeah, this is for me just complete waffle and paper talk from I haven't even stated the media outlet. I don't even know where it came from. So yeah, for me, absolute nonsense, and yeah, not even worth discussing any further. Moving on, a player that will always be mentioned until he decides to join a different club, and that is Mark Gahey. Um, so the current rumor is that the likes of Real Madrid are monitoring his contractual situation because, of course, if you are aware, once the January window opens, he is able to sign a pre-contract agreement with any non-English club. So, the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern, Barcelona, the teams that he's been linked to in recent weeks, are able to, tie him down to a contract that will start from next summer. Um, but the rumor right now is that um, the that Liverpool's inability to sign Mark Gay in the summer has created uncertainty for the England defender, who is prepared to wait until the end of the season before deciding his future. In terms of that statement there, I actually agree with that. I don't think I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I don't know if Liverpool will try to go for Mark Gahey in the January window for for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons would be a poor form this season. You know, Mark Gahey may have thought this was the right place to go, but then maybe he would have some doubts or have some second thoughts about joining us right now due to the way we've played. And also, from his point of view, he would still feel quite bitter towards Crystal Palace that the move to Liverpool wasn't concluded because he was pretty much a Liverpool player. He passed the medical. He probably got on the tracksuit and took pictures as well. He was already ready made to join Liverpool on the transfer deadline day. But because Palace didn't fulfill his desire, which was to join Liverpool, I feel like there will be a slight annoyance with the club. And of course, if he was to leave in January, and let's say a team placed a bid, I don't think he would want Crystal Palace to gain any revenue from for his services. So I feel like for him, it makes perfect sense to wait until the summer where he'll be a free agent. I think there'll be more interest to sign him, and that will also equal to more lucrative offers because of his quality as a player. Um, so I see him making his announcement in the summer, unless someone does a pre-contract agreement in January, and then we know where we stand. But I think he'll decide in the season. And from Crystal Palace's point of view, that they wouldn't want to part ways with him, because they wouldn't get anywhere near 35 million, in my opinion. They would be lucky to get 20, and I think that's quite high for players that is pretty much a free agent in the summer, 6 months later. So I expect him to join a new club next summer. I don't think he will sign in January for anyone, and I don't think Liverpool will go for him. but I could be wrong. It could be as simple as that. He gave his word to Liverpool that look, if you return for me in January, I'm joining you guys. It might be that kind of notion there, but whether it's not, only time will tell. Because right now, I'm not feeling it. But hopefully, I am wrong because we do need a centre back in the January window. Next transfer, Nico Schlotterbeck. Now, Liverpool have shortlisted Bruce Dortmund's Nico Schlotterbeck as one of a number of centre options. His contract situation at Dortmund is approaching a decisive crossroad, according to reports in Germany. So, my thoughts on the player: he's very, very talented. He picked up a serious injury last season, but he's rediscovered his form and he has looked stronger than ever so far for Dortmund this season. I think he would be a fantastic addition for us. From what I've heard, his transfer fee wouldn't be too crazy. It would be around 40 to 50 million pounds. Uh, Tall, dominant, very strong in terms of, from an aerial point of view, but also on the ball as well. Left footed, so it gives us a different dimension in our defense. Can comfortably play in a back three if we wanted three centre backs. Can play in a two in a back four. Can even play left back if required on an emergency basis. So I think he'd be a fantastic signing, and he's at a good age. I think he's around 26 years of age, so good sort of age where he's gained a lot of valuable experience over the years. I would be very impressed. I'd be very, very happy if we was to sign Schlotterbeck. So if there's any way we can sign him, especially in January, that would be a fantastic addition to our squad. So let's see. This is definitely one to watch to see how it develops. I hope he's one of the names that we are looking at in January. If not, I hope in the summer because he's definitely a player I feel like will improve us as a collective. So yeah, player I really, really rate, and hopefully there is some truth to the rumor. Next player is Joe Ordonez. So this player has been highly regarded by a number of clubs, but also Liverpool are one of his sort of suitors as well. The recruitment team at Liverpool have scouted him very heavily, and we're on alert because he was actually on the verge of joining Marseille last summer, but the move failed to materialize. So my thoughts on the player. So from what I've seen, very talented, very strong, very physical. If you were to compare him to any profile in our squad, it would be Konate. That would be the closest profile, I would say. He's comfortable playing on the right side or left side of centre back. Can play in the back three and the back four as well. Decent passing, probably say better than Konate, if I'm being honest with you. Um, and yeah, he looks like he's got huge potential, and he's one of those players where you can see the talent there. He's not the final article. He still needs a bit of refinement. He's still quite raw. But if you bring him to a club where you allow him to develop and play alongside the likes of your Van Dijks, then he can definitely learn. Um, and under their wings, and they can be regarded as a mentor for him. So he's available for around 35 million pounds, which is not crazy to be fair. If we don't sign Mark Gay, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the type of profile that we go for. Uh, he looks decent. I don't think he's going to sort of walk into the team. He's not of that quality as of yet, but he'll definitely come in and challenge for a starting spot alongside Van Dijk, in my opinion. So good player, talented player. Is he ready to start week in, week out? Not yet, but I think in the future, yes, he has the potential to become a top centre back. So I think this is the type of profile we should be going for. It's not going to cost too much. He's young, but he's still relatively experienced. He's a starter for Ecuador, so I feel like he's a player that we should definitely look towards. And Bo says he likes him as well. So yeah, very talented player. And I can see there being some legs in this one. Whether it happens in January or in the summer, not too sure. But what we know is we need a centre back. So if this is the profile, then please bring him on board. And the final rumor of today is Federico Chiesa. Now, we all know his current situation at the club. Fortunately, he's not getting a lot of game time, and therefore he will probably feel disrespected and not valued by Arne Slot. So therefore, interest will generate from other clubs, and he might want to pursue a move away from the club. So right now, according to rumors, there is a four-way bidding war for the Italian winger, and all of those clubs are from Serie A. You've got the likes of Inter Milan, AC Milan, Napoli, and Roma. So my thoughts on this speculation: I'd be disappointed if he leaves. To be fair, I really like him. I've rated him for a number of years, probably ever since he was a Fiorentina player. Very talented there. Moved over to Juventus, and he literally became, for me, one of the best wingers in world football. Like that's how great he was in his prime. And I say his prime because I don't feel like he's that same player anymore. But having said that, he can still add value, and I can feel like he can still contribute to this team. It's just that he's not been given a fair opportunity to either start game or get large amount of minutes on the pitch. So if that's the case, then it's a concern for him because he's probably thinking, what do I need to do? I'm working hard in training. Whenever I come off the bench, I have an instant impact. I've scored important goals so far this season. What do I need to do? So it's going to be very, very interesting because we've been struggling with Semenyo. Would that mean Chiesa needs to go in order to accommodate the Semenyo signing? No. But he might look at that, wait, if they're signing Semenyo, I've got no chance of starting at all. So then he might feel like it is the best time to leave now rather than later. With the World Cup coming, he would want to play first team football in order to get selected. So I don't know. It's a bit of a tricky one. I want to say there's no truth to this, but I feel like Chiesa will want to end the season. But if he wanted to move away, I don't blame him, and I wouldn't begrudge him for that either. So let's see. As I mentioned, we're in December now. We're going to hear more rumors as the days go on. So let's see if there's any truth to this. But I would be sad to see him leave if I'm being brutally honest with you. Because he's a player I really rate, and whenever he's come on, he's done so well. There's been times where we've looked so flat, but he's just constantly pressing. He's aggressive. He's energized in the way he's playing, and that is something you want from your substitute. They have an instant impact when they come on. Um, but yeah, it's one of those ones where I feel for him, and it doesn't look like this manager's stance is going to change. So it looks like a move could be on the cards in January, which for me would be a shame because I do feel like he is a very talented player. And that is the last rumor for today. I'm just going to read the final comments before we close the show. Bo says, would love us to sign Antonio Nusa, though, a left wing from Norway, only 20, fast, extremely good dribbler, and a good shot on him. Keep an extremely close eye to him in the World Cup. Aussie. Oh, he's a player I'm familiar with. I've been watching him for some time. He's a player that I actually mentioned in the summer that I really wanted us to try and sign. It- I feel like he's quite similar to Luis Diaz in a good way, like in terms of the way he dribbles, his approach is very direct. But Nusa, he's a player, he's very skillful, he's got a decent shot on him as well. Can actually play right wing if required, but on the left, he is superb. And I don't think he would cost a crazy amount of money. So for me, he would be a good signing. He really would be. But definitely want to watch because even if we get Semenyo, we can still sign another winger next summer. Um, Maybe I'm going a bit far fetched in terms of the Semenyo sign because I'm expecting him to join, but we'll see if he does. But Nusa is definitely someone on the short list because he's very talented. Of course, he had a couple injury issues over the last few years. He was very close to joining Brentford. I think it was 18 months ago, but I believe he failed a medical. So very talented player that I know, and of course, I'm sure we'll see him evolve more with the World Cup coming as well. Double D says, keep Kaiser. Big up Double D. I hope you're well. And yes, keep Kaiser. That's what I would do. But if he wants to leave, I can't blame him because he needs to think about his own career going forward. Wade says, I want to slot out before Jan so Kaiser gets a fair shot with the new manager. That would make the most logical sense. If he's not sacked by the end of December, then he's going to stay until the end of the season. It's as simple as that. That's not me saying I want that. I think that is what is going to happen. So if he, suffers a couple of defeats in the coming weeks, then that will be the writing on the wall for me. He will have to leave. But I don't know what the club stance is because they will definitely have a list of managers that they would like to pursue. And the ones that they probably have high on their list are not available due to being in current roles or being part of national team setups in the World Cup. Um, but I agree, if Liverpool wanted to go through that interim route, I think the popular choice would be Jurgen Klopp. And Chiesa under Jurgen Klopp for me would be a great fit, to say the least. So, um, if we do have a new coach, I feel like they'll give Chiesa more game time. Um, but I don't know. Let's see. Right now, I want to focus on the team more. I want us to get back to winning ways and climb up the table. So yeah, let's see. But the coach has a lot to prove. Just because he's got that win against West Ham doesn't mean his job's secure. He's still under the microscope. We still have to make sure that he actually lives up to the bill. So yeah, let's see how Liverpool do in the next few weeks. Bosses and Ndaye as well, goalkeeper who is uh extreme, who is 20 extremely good with the ball. Good reflex will get to the highest level in 3 to 4 years. Huge potential. Who does he play for? Uh, is he? You say already been linked to many Belgian clubs. Let me know who he plays for. I've not heard of Ndaye as in goalkeeper. Um, yeah, do let me know what club he plays for. I'll definitely keep an eye out for him. Um, so big potential. I think if he's playing at a low level and being linked with a move to a Belgium club, I think that would be fantastic for his development because that is a great league that is full of great young talent. Um, and then he'll be ready to make, the next step, whether it's in the French league or Bundesliga, and then you'd hope that, they come to the Premier League at one point as well. So he plays for Salzburg 08, Mamo and Ndaye. Okay, fair enough. Appreciate you mentioning his name. I'll definitely keep an eye out for him. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Shout out to Let's go for the top. Shout out to Abdul, shout out to Bo, shout out to Mr. Barry Murphy, shout out to Wayne, shout out who else do we have? Shout out to Richie. Shout out to Double D. I appreciate your engagement as always, guys. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. In terms of upcoming shows, I will be doing a match preview tomorrow for the Liverpool versus Sunderland game. And then on Wednesday, we'll do the live watch along of that game plus match reaction. And then on Thursday, we'll do the match preview of Leeds United versus Liverpool. And then we'll do the watch along on Saturday for that game as well. So a lot of content coming your way. And also, if there's any big transfer news or speculation that we talk about, yeah, I will try and do more transfer shows this month. You know, it's that time of the year where rumors are flying around. And as football fans, you know, you do get excited when your club is linked to certain names. So there'll be more transfer shows coming up. Probably be more spontaneously like it was today. I wasn't planning on doing a show today, but I thought it would be worth having the discussion. So yeah, let's see, you know, how the days go on, and hopefully, you know, Liverpool are doing the groundwork in the background, and hopefully trying to add some new players in the window. That's what I want to see in January. Uh, Wayne saying we got Ozzy in chat. We got Wayne as always. Ozzy, we got Ozzy. He says Ozzy, we're getting 3 points, bro. Remember today? Yeah, I'm hoping we will. I'm hoping we will. So yes, we'll talk about the game in more detail tomorrow. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all tomorrow. Goodbye.